John, go ahead.
Go ahead, John.
Call the meeting.
All right. Like to call together a special meeting, the Board of Aldermen and the Board of Apportionment and Taxation, City of Shelton, Thursday, March 2025, 5:30, auditorium, Shelton City Hall. I guess what we will do is we will take a roll call. We'll start to my left.
The pledge, John.
The pledge.
Pledge, John.
Anthony, it's his meeting. Go ahead, John.
Okay. We'll do a pledge.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We'll do a roll call. We'll start to my left.
John Belden, A&T.
Wade Brack, A&T.
Joe Mappick, A&T.
John Boyko, A&T. The alderman behind me.
Start.
Ed Berry.
Porter McKinnon.
Bernard Simons.
Anthony Simonetti.
John Anglais.
Eric McPherson.
Lorenzo Durante, fourth ward.
Chris Belamacy.
And we have the mayor.
Am I up?
You're up.
I'm gonna make this as short and painless as possible. You know, one would think, first of all, good evening, everyone, members of the Board of Aldermen, members of the Board of Apportionment and Taxation,
Your Honor.
members of the Board of Education, parents, families, and friends, city employees. You know, after the 34th year of making the budget presentation, you would think that it would become routine. There's nothing routine in America anymore, unfortunately. I will say that from a city standpoint, that things are very well. And on the city side of the budget, there are minimal increases, as there are year after year, mostly contractual, and most of which you're familiar with. However, in the infinite wisdom of the state legislature here in Connecticut, over the summer months, unbeknownst to most of us, they had changed the way we tax automobiles in the state. And I touched upon this a little bit at the Board of Aldermen meeting last week. For those of you who are not familiar with it, they eliminated receipt of taxes on automobiles. And so when grand lists were coming in back in February, everybody's grand list was going down. In fact, the city of Shelton saw a 0.5% decrease in the grand list. And I went to our assessor and I said, please explain this to me. This is a first in 34 years and just unordinary. And then he explained the law to me. Well, apparently there has been a lot of outcry from elected officials around the state, and the legislature reversed course on this and did allow a portion of automobiles to be taxed. Nonetheless, it does affect our grand list and everybody else is in the state of Connecticut. So we're not seeing the kind of gain and growth that we have over the years. And so that creates a shift in the tax burden. Now, I don't, Hartford and Washington, they do things that are unbeknown to most people. And, what did they think was going to happen? When you eliminate something completely, you create a void. So the shift has got to go somewhere, and it goes to the personal property taxpayers. And that's what's happening in this situation. Fortunately, it's not happening to the magnitude that they originally passed the legislation. And I bring this to your attention because it's important. They do this with education mandates and municipal mandates. They say, here's what you need to do, and don't provide any funding for it. And they never take the opportunity to evaluate the workmanship and the success or failure of any of this legislation. And so in this state, when legislation goes on the books, it stays there. It never goes away. And that's sad because it creates a lot of problems for municipalities. It creates an unclear path for people to do things. because there's always a statute that someone can say, oh, did you do this or did you do that? See, I've always called this the game of I got you. It was out of Hartford. And that's really unfair because we at the local level, and particularly the city of Shelton, we do what we're supposed to do. We get results far beyond anybody. Far beyond anybody. And that's why we have consistent and steady growth through our grand list and through our corporate structure and for people that just want to be here. And you don't need to believe what I'm saying. Do a little research. Talk to people that live outside our borders. They'll give you the scenario. You know, people say, oh, I come to Shelton for dinner. Who said that 20 years ago? We have a variety of different restaurant establishments for people of all ages and for people to select. We never had a national pharmacy in the city until a few years ago. Now we have 3 of them. So when you think about the changes that have occurred, there's a reason that people are gravitating towards our city. There's a reason why the Planning and Zoning Commission meets 3 times a month. Unheard of in the state, unheard of. And I'm not here to tell you that it's all good, because it does create some problems, especially with the legislation for affordable housing. It's problematic not only for Shelton, but for the entire state. Maybe well-intended to provide some affordability for people at the lower end of the economic scale, but there's another way to do it, instead of just allowing people to plop it down anywhere. So these are some of the challenges that we at the local level have to deal with on a regular basis. And, you know, I would just direct people's attention to what goes on in Hartford. You know, at budget time, people like to come out and complain to us if they don't like how things were funded. I would tell you, members of the Board of A&T and Board of Aldermen, refer them to the state legislature. They created the issue. You shouldn't stay here and get beat up unfairly by anybody. So with that said, the budget that I'm proposing for tonight, or for, I'm sorry, fiscal year 2026, based on current revenues expenditure levels of $139,779,547 will result in a mill rate of 18.57, which represents about a half a mil decrease off of the current mill rate, which is 19.18. As always, I remind everyone that the Shelton budget process accumulates with the adoption of the budget by the Board of Aldermen at the end of May. There certainly will be some changes that will be necessary. As far as I can see right now, it shouldn't be anything substantial or radical, but always understand that there are certain things that are not available to us today when this budget gets presented, that get changed when the state legislature finalizes their budget, and municipalities understand what they get or what they don't get. So with that, I'm going to close my remarks. Wish you well. Thank you. Okay, right.
All right. That being said, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So carried.